Sound speeds. All right, cool. So, man, what's up? How y'all doing?
Hi.
We good. What's up?
I'm good. I'm good. I was really interested to have you two on to talk about indie. Because when I thought about the show and what I wanted it to be, like you two like epitomize what I believe is the independent filmmaker. Cause you write, you direct, you produce, you AD for each other, you both act, you edit, your locations, like you literally are like the one-stop shop for everything that happens on a production. So just like talk about that a little bit. Like what is that like for you?
Stressful. To put it plainly.
Sometimes, yeah. It's cool. We try to do a lot of networking so that we're not always doing all the jobs, but it does help because it helps us to make sure that we always have work. So like if we're hired for a project or something, Caleb was like, "Oh, well, Tina could come and run sound." I'm like, "Yeah." So I will do sound, or if we get done with the project and somebody needs help editing, we'll also do the editing.
You see, and I think that's very interesting too, because it's like, so I don't know what everybody's process is, but I know my process. Like when after a shoot day and we're done, we wrapped, and you're driving home, like I usually have like this moment of reflection that is by myself. But you two are in the car with each other. So like how does that, what is that like? Like normally you would do this on your own. You would have your own self-reflection, go over like what the day was, what you did that day. Did you get your shots? Did you make your day? Do you have to do reshoots? Because most of the time we all know if we got to do reshoots or not, right?
Yeah.
So like how does that work? Like the fact that you can't get away from each other after that to like kind of like detach yourself from the picture because you live with your partner.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I think we do take time. Like our most recent shoot we had, we did drive separately, and so we kind of just took that drive separately. And when we got home, kind of talked about it a little bit, what we could do better next time. We kind of knew where we should have improved, and we had a chance to like.
You said should have?
Yeah. But, like,
Should have.
Where we could have improved, could have improved.
You heard it too, right? Okay. Should have improved.
Yeah, where we could have improved. But I was like, we finally
Yeah,
sat
we
down
have a
and, like,
moment of decompression, like when we kind of, sometimes if we're driving home together, we'll be quiet, we'll like play some music or something, and then get home, and as we lay in bed, we'll be like, did you see that shot today? Get really excited about it, or be like, damn, I wanted to get that shot and I didn't get it, so, yeah.
That's tragic. Like I've been there with you like several times. Like you end up like just off in your own little corner and you're just like starting to replay everything. You're like, oh my god, I missed this. Oh my god, why did we shoot it like that? Fuck, did it sound good? Like it's so much that goes into it. Which brings me around to this, like when you start, like when you want to do a project, like what's the first thing you do? Because everybody's process is different. Like my thing is, obviously we all start with the script, but like after you get the script to a good working place, right, where do you go next?
I usually hit up my friends and be like, hey, look, I just wrote this script. I think it'd be so funny if we did it. But usually after the script, we do storyboarding. We go to shot deck.
We do our shot list.
Yeah.
Immediately after script.
That's interesting because like my next thing is locations. And then that like probably helps me rewrite the script because then I start to think about, okay, where is this going to take place? What do I have access to? And then once I have the location, then I start framing shots around that. So it's just,
Nice.
everybody does it different. I just, I think it's it's amazing to see what somebody else's process is. Like how do you go from like what's written on the page, the concept that's in your head, what you put on the page, and then like what you actually see in between the frame lines. I think that's what's key. You know.
Yeah.
I guess location does kind of come in early too.
I think we did do that this time.
Yeah.
We did go script, location, then we did our shot list afterwards.
Because as I'm writing, I kind of get like this imagery in my head of the location that I want to shoot in. When we started for this project, for the Adventures of Black People. That's what we're working on now. It's like an episode about vampires.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, you said we will.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
We're
cool.
gonna talk about
Let's not get there yet then. But I had this image of the characters in the bathroom of Cheers. Have you ever been to Cheers? East Point. They have this bathroom. It's like grungy. It's got graffiti all over the walls, and like people, put their stickers up. Like, this is my business.
Like pictures of it on Instagram or something.
And that location was perfect. And we're not shooting there, which is kind of upsetting, but it's fine because you just improvise. So.
I think that's very, very interesting too, because like I write based on what I have, what's available to me.
Yeah.
So like if I know we have seen Nana's kitchen, right, at default to my grandma's kitchen. Now I might not necessarily be able to shoot at my grandma's house, so then I start thinking about, okay, who has a similar type setup?
Yeah.
So then in my mind that scene takes place there, and then if I already have the location in mind, that gives me the and with the space, that informs how I'm going to shoot the scene. I like working with small spaces. I feel like you can get kind of creative and like make it feel big by the moment. So like when you're crafting your shots, like how do you do that? Like do you take into account the amount of space that you have to work with? Like do you like to minimize, like how do you go about it?
I think we really try to figure out what moments we want to stand out in this part, in that part of the script, and then we craft the shot around that. Like, is this an intimate moment? Do we need a close-up for this shot? Or if we're getting a close-up, are we going to shoot it on a wide lens so it feels just a little bit distorted for the whatever mental space the character's in?
Mm-hmm. Oh, nothing. I think I might have zoned out for a second. I was listening, though. I was listening.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, like it's just really, really cool just to sit here and talk with like-minded people about what their process is, because we don't have the biggest budgets. Like a lot of this stuff that we're doing, we have to fund on our own. So it's like, we kind of all know, because most of us all work in the industry too, so we know what the standard way of doing things is, but we have to get creative with how we do certain things while still trying to like fit the standard to make everybody else feel comfortable with what they're doing. It's like it's that line that you have to walk. So like
it's cool doing indie too, and coming from working on larger sets, because now like I have a standard for how to run everything. Like I know, I need to have a set time for lunch, or I need to have crafty, or I need to make sure that the actors are in and out at a certain time.
And that's the thing, like you come from the actor world, because I remember when like I first officially met you, we met on the Resident set. Like you were featured, you had a featured role in that episode.
As an ENT.
Yeah, I mean, did good, by the way.
Thank you.
I was watching you on the monitor. You did great.
Thanks.
But it's still like, it's watching that, right? And being a part of that, like what gets people comfortable, because by and large, we aren't paying people.
Yeah.
So like we have to make sure like the food's there, that you get that 6 hours for lunch, even though lunch is probably gonna be pizza,
It was definitely pizza.
or lunch is gonna be like, like a sub platter, like pub subs, like we're used to that being a hot snack. That's my lunch, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot that just goes into it that people just don't understand. Like they think sometimes we're just gonna get this camera, we're gonna go out there and shoot. No.
So much planning goes into
so
that.
Much
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, it's so much planning for 10 minutes.
For sure.
Like 10 minutes.
That's exactly how long this script that we're shooting
is.
Right
10 minutes. I didn't even need to read the script. I already knew it was 10 minutes. I already knew it was 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes, and it's such just a crazy amount of planning that goes into it. Like, and then if you have multiple locations, like that's almost, it's almost like a death warrant, isn't it? Like a death sentence. Like, man, I don't know if we're gonna do this. It's crazy.
I remember starting out when I was writing the script, I'm still having fun with it, but I was having so much more fun like writing it and being like, oh, this is gonna be so funny. And then like a couple days before we started shooting, I got so anxious because I was like, I still haven't heard back from actors, and what about crafty? And then like food, I just started kind of freaking out and like. And it wasn't even, it had nothing to do with all the other planning and stuff we had to do. Like the shot list was done and the schedule was done, but then I started freaking out.
My
about
blood
timing.
pressure just went up when you said
I'm
that.
so sorry. I started freaking out so much. But it's just because you don't think about all of that when you start. I will say people that are starting out in the world of filmmaking don't understand that, like, the script isn't even the hardest part, you know? And people are daunted by that.
But it can be the hardest part.
It can be.
Because if
sure.
you write something one way and you want it to go that way, you may not be able to do that. How many times have we seen, like, okay, I want to put a shootout in the middle of this street right here. So it used to be 4 or 5 years ago, like, if I wrote a shootout or somebody told me they wanted to do a shootout, I'm like, man, yeah, that's great, let's do it. You know, but now if you told me, Kaleb, you walk up and you say, Felix, I want to do a shootout, like right here. First thing I ask you is, how much you think that's going to cost?
Right.
Like, I feel like the more you get into this business and the more you move towards like what you really want to do, you become more and more jaded, especially when you start working on sets, because you see what they have to do to pull off, and then you know the scene is only 2 minutes. Like, it's only going to be 2 minutes in the picture itself, but it was 3 prep days.
Yep.
We spent about $50,000. We had about 5 cops blocking off this whole street. We had stunts out there. We had an armorer out there. We had like 40 background, because you had to have people running around like after they're doing all of the shots, you know.
And how long does it take them to approve your permit if you're shooting out there? Have you ever had to?
So when you're getting a permit approved like that just, once you have all of the information blocked off, that doesn't really take a whole lot of time. They really just push it all through.
Yeah.
But like if you're doing it on the indie circuit, like, you know, you're doing a permit that could be, you know, $1,200,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For a big time production, that ain't
That's
nothing.
nothing.
For somebody like us,
That's
where
our
we're
budget.
counting every dollar, that's like, that might be half my budget.
Yeah.
Just for
Nothing
me to
serious.
block off a street with no background, 1 car, and am I going to use blank weapons? Am I going to use airsoft? Because then that comes into, then I got to think about visual effects that goes into it. Or am I going to like run the risk of using blanks? And then do I notify the neighborhood?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in order for you to get the permit, you have to notify the neighborhood.
You have to have a police on
You
set.
have to have police, and that's gonna run you like, you know, police officers getting 50 to whatever their rates are, like on the day for 8 to 12 hours. So now you're thinking it's $1,200. Yeah, that's just a permit. For you to make this work and shoot it for at least for, you know, however long you think you're gonna shoot it, you spent $10,000 that you don't have.
Yeah.
So like, it's saying that, you know, like the script is, I get you, the script can be very daunting because you want to do that, but you can't. Like, you like fiscally cannot do it.
Yeah.
So like, what's better? How do you go about the creative way to, like, if you ever get to a roadblock like that, like when you're trying to create something and you want to put this in the script, but then, like, you know, you guys have been doing this for a while, so now you start to think about, okay, how am I going to pay for this? Like, what's your alternative? Like, what do you do?
Using your network. That's all I can say. We've really had to call in a lot of favors in the last month or so, trying to get locations, trying to get like drapes even for a scene. We needed to hang some drapes we didn't have money for. We were like, oh, we'll just order it on Amazon and send it back.
Send it back.
I do
But,
that a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Using our resources a lot. And
Using
then
your
in
resources.
situationally, per like script, if it is a set, like a shootout, something like that we want to do, we'll just find the most secluded area we can away from everything, so we don't have to
Do all that.
get all the permits and get all the people. And we have friends that do armory on set. We have friends that are like set EMTs and stuff like that. We get those people to come.
See, and that's the other thing that I really, you know, wanted to get into with you specifically, is because you are a stunt person.
Yeah.
Like you choreograph your own stunts, you choreograph your own dances, the armors. Like again, like you know, like when I think about independent filmmaker, y'all literally do everything.
Do everything, or we connected to somebody that does something that we need. That's
Yeah.
like I think the years. I think we've been here 7, 8 years. In the time that we've been here, we've just made a lot of connections with people, and we just always tried to be good to people and help them when we can, because we knew at some point we would also need help.
Also, it's nice to learn, to like be on set with people that do something that I don't do, and I'm just ask questions. You know, just trying to figure out how do I do this next time.
Yeah.
I think you never stop learning. Like that's the one thing that you can. That's the one wrong thing that you can do in this industry. Especially if you want to grow as a creative, like you can stop learning. You know, I try to surround myself with people who know more than me.
Yeah.
I'm not my own cameraman. I literally, like, I don't know how to do anything besides direct talent. That's it. But I surround myself with a great director of photography. I surround myself with great sound people. I surround myself with people who are good with organization. You know, and that allows me the creative freedom to do the thing that I need to do to help the film, you know, get the most out of this film, which is literally working with the talent.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not an independent filmmaker. If I don't have a studio backing me, I'm out of Schitt's Creek. I'm up Schitt's Creek with no paddle.
But you do have that. You still have the people.
Yeah, you still have a good community of.
You have
But
the
there is a
crew.
good community. That brings us to the camera people.
It's like I'm not supposed to acknowledge everybody.
That's fine. That's fine.
Cool.
So that brings me like that. So that just like now, I just want to talk about like you know, like what do you got new? Like what do you got going on now? Like recently.
Well, back in November sometime, December, somebody mentioned the American Black Film Festival, and I was like, I have the perfect project for that. I've been working on this web series called The Adventures of Black People for like the last year or so, and it's an anthology series, so every episode like kind of dabbles in like different lore or just like a day in the life of I wrote an episode about an alien. I don't know if you ever saw Kaleb get beamed up in an episode, but that was our first episode.
I think
for
I
that.
did see something like that.
Yeah.
Was that test footage or was that like actual footage?
It was both.
It was both. We posted both.
We posted both of it. But that's something we're sending to the American Black Film Festival in June. The submissions close like next week, so we were really on a tight turnaround. And our next shoot day is Thursday. Yeah.
Well, good luck to that. So, are you writing? Obviously, you wrote it. Are you directing, or are you both tag teaming it?
A little bit of both.
I've been producing more so than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been producing, making sure we have all our charts filled
So
in.
that's an interesting dynamic. So we just talked about like the ride home and wanting to detach yourself from the work, you know, but you're the director. You're the producer.
Yeah.
How does that work when she wants to say, Kaleb, I want to do this, and you're like, we don't have the money, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna pull the wife card. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really been time. Time has been the only thing that's really been hurting us for real. Because luckily, we used our resources and got our locations for free or very little. And like the things that were gonna cost money, and then the things that did cost money, like Crafty and lunch and everything, I was like, all right, we're pulling it from Brave House from our own money. So I was like, this is our budget for that thing.
Yeah.
But that's it.
And it balances out because I'm not sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it balances out because I don't ask for. I'm not a high maintenance spouse, but when it comes to this, I'm like, do we got $100 just so I can get this, please? And he's like, yeah, we got it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that like I end up having to have that conversation with myself. We were doing something on the Broken Dancer, and I wanted to shoot anamorphic. And then my DP Andrew was telling me, "Hey, it's gonna be $450 for this lens kit."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had to have a long conversation with myself, like, because there's nobody to approve that. But
Right.
I'm the one that has to approve that expense. So it's like, I just thought that's a very interesting dynamic. Like you have to go to your husband to essentially get that approved, you know.
Yeah, it's funny too because he'll know more. He knows more about cameras than I do. Like everything, I just kind of fill in the gaps. But he was saying to me, I think anytime we're getting ready to do a project, I'll want to do something like, it'll be cool if we could have this like be a top down shot. And Caleb's like, yo.
Does he ever like
No, he tries to figure it out. But it's
Yeah.
funny because I won't know something costs money and he'll have to tell me. And then I'm like, oh. So it's kind of the same dynamic. And then he's just like, well, we can get it, but it's going to be $450.
this is X, Y, and Z. Like, this is what we got to take to get there.
Yeah. So he usually helps me make it happen.
We make it happen.
We make it happen.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And if we can't, we call somebody who can.
Yeah.
Talk about Brave House. Like, where did the name come from? And like, yeah, just like where did the name come from? And like, when you decided that you were gonna do this, like, what do you like specialize in? Like, do you have like specific genres that you like to do, or is it just like, do you just do everything?
The name. We'll start with the name.
Yeah,
So
we
hey.
initially didn't have this name.
Nope.
We were Mitchell Media Team.
Yep. When we first started,
We were doing weddings.
Yeah, we started our media company during the pandemic because we were like, "Yo, we getting all this extra money that's free. We should invest
Yeah.
it
It's
and
like
do something."
stimulus checks and like unemployment checks because you were working 3 jobs before.
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic, and I was nannying, and then we had no work, and it was just like my job, and then we were making like $500 a week. It wasn't enough money at all, but then like stimulus checks and unemployment checks rolled in, and Caleb was like, "Hear me out, let's buy a camera." I was like, "There are people over here, we can't even like get bread and eggs, and you want to get a camera?" But then I was like, "All right, fine, get the camera, and we'll see what happens." And that's kind of how we started.
Yeah, that's how it started. We started as a Mitchell Media Team, and we did weddings and everything that every videographer does in the beginning, with the intention to shoot stuff for ourselves, for our reels as
Yeah.
actors, and then to do that for other actors, to be like, "Hey, we'll shoot your reel, like write you a scene," and that was going to be what our business was.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got ready to like legitimize our business and actually put it on paper and get an LLC, I was like, "This Mitchell Media Team thing, I don't like the name. We
I
gotta
think the
change
name
it."
was unavailable, actually.
It was. It was.
I was like,
unavailable.
who else is Mitchell Media Team in Atlanta, Georgia? But the name Brave House, Caleb grew up on a street in Louisiana called Bray Lane.
Yeah, Bray Lane.
Bray Lane. And I was like, what if we took the name Bray and added a V on it?
Because that's what I was just going to ask you. It's spelled differently.
Spelled uniquely.
It's spelled so uniquely.
I don't know if you can see it, but that's how it's spelled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that's so
and
dramatic.
I was gonna just ask you, like, so how did you come up with the spelling for it? But the street, and then you just decided to put a V on it. That's that simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just that simple.
Sometimes it's just this simple.
Yeah. That was it.
That was it. So here we are at Brave House, and since then we've been trying to make basically anything that we feel is captivating, fun, stuff that we would want to see.
I think I fought Tina a long time on labeling us as a production company. I was like, "That's too much responsibility. I don't want to be called a production company." And she was like, "But we are a
But
production
you
company."
are a production company. I was just gonna say that. But you are a production
We are a
company.
production
Like,
company.
like, come on, Caleb.
I know,
Like-
but I was just afraid of that label.
That
Like
label.
not the label, the responsibility. I was like, "Now I got to do shit right." You know what I'm saying? Like, now I got to actually
Now we got to get legal documents,
and like,
LLC and all
you
this
know,
stuff. Yeah.
But it's worth it, right?
it is.
Because
It is.
it's your company.
Yeah.
And it's like the amount of money that you put into it, it helps that you can sometimes like get that back at the end of the year, because then you can reinvest it. So now you can buy that second camera.
Yeah.
Like that one project that you wanted to do the year prior that you couldn't do. Now that you got that money back on your taxes, you can now do that project, and you
Yeah.
can pay the people, and it helps you grow,
Yeah.
like with my company now, like I'm looking into getting an accountant, because this year I want to start having people doing 1099 forms.
Yeah.
It's good for your
That's
business.
so scary to me.
Yes.
It's very scary because you don't know how to. We don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like when I work for a production, I just submit the start work, put my times in, and the next Friday I get paid.
Yeah.
But there's a way that has to happen, right?
Yeah.
And you
It's
like
people doing those jobs.
because those are people doing those jobs. And like we just don't understand, just like in order to make this industry work, there's so many different people that really and truthfully, if they weren't working in film, they could probably be doing this for another company.
Yeah.
I had that realization last year, I think right after we like LLC'd and was really working, and then trying to pitch our series. I was like, film is a business, and it freaked me out because I was like, I could have just gone to business school, and Kaleb was like, yeah, but you'd still be here. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Doesn't matter. I still would have. Either way, I think it would have been beneficial to like realize it sooner, but I'm here now.
So you pitched. I remember we talked like in our in our pre-meeting, right? We had we were talking about you guys had a pitch that kind of fell through. Just kind of talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, we were pitching the show based in Louisiana, around my hometown. And
This is what
it's called Westwood, yeah. And we met some guys that were in music but wanted to be in film. And we went into the pitch with the idea that they already had sourced funds, which didn't be produced. And so we pitched it to them. They loved it. And they were like, all right, we're going to go find you the money. Which is like, red flag, right? But we were like, okay, cool, whatever. We'll have to pitch again. And so they went, talked to some people. We got another call. And then we pitched to two people. One of them was a younger guy. And he was like, yeah, man, like, I could fund this by myself. Like,
they're really cool.
Yeah, he was cool. He was really cool. He was like, he was with it. He's like, I just want to meet y'all. I just want to talk to y'all about the project. See. And we had did everything. So people that haven't pitched anything, when you're pitching, you have to have like your budget down to the dollar. You have to have something called an executive summary of your show or movie, which compares it to other shows or movie of its kind. It's basically a business plan, and that's the process where I was like, oh, shit, film is a business.
Yeah.
Because I had to write a business plan for a TV show, and I thought that was crazy.
You have to have a schedule as well. You have to let them know like when you're going to deliver it.
Yep.
They have to know pre-production schedule, production, post, delivery, all that. I was like, dang.
All that stuff. Talking to distribution and like figuring out.
And even within that schedule, you have to have like, all right, I'm gonna have 15 days for this pilot, but the next episode might take 7. And so on and so forth. It's very, very detailed. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Also, you needed a marketing plan.
Yes.
And we've been working really close with our friend Monray. She does marketing by Monray, or what's it, Ghetto CEO?
Yeah, that podcast is called Ghetto CEO.
Yeah, Ghetto CEO podcast. But she has an eye for marketing. And I think working with her was going to, it was going to make all the difference for producing Westwood, because I wasn't even thinking about like red carpet events. Like that's all marketing, and like billboards and like ads and all that stuff. Like when you see a teaser trailer, like that's marketing too.
So the pitch fell through.
Fell through. God ghosted us. Ghosted us. We had our mentors that we were working with that were in contact with him. They would reach out via email. They would call. He had like followed me on social media. I reached out one time to him on social media, and he just completely ghosted.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a thing that happens a lot. I just recently went through that. But it's discouraging. Yeah. But we keep going, and now you're working on the Adventures of, what's it called again?
The Adventures of Black People.
The Adventures of Black People, and we're gonna start over from scratch. And that's what it is to be indie. We always start over from scratch. Yeah. Thank y'all for coming aboard and being my first guest, and I hope to see y'all again later.
Of course. Thank you. It was nice.
That's a good handshake you got there.
Hey, Taxi.